Hey Haley, it's nice to see you here on Lola Simon Special Friends. Or we can go Simon Lola Special Friends. I don't care either way. But look, I'm wearing my Grand Canyon t-shirt because, we went there together that one time. Segueing right through that into useless things and how I've been thinking a lot about them. The reason I thought about that was because you know how we talked about how I minored in Spanish. And even though I achieved this minor, I didn't really learn how to speak the language. So, anyways, I didn't learn how to speak Spanish, at least not as well as I should have. And so, does that make my minor useless? Well, maybe. Maybe it's not entirely useless. I don't think any education is really completely useless no matter what. If you're learning something, that's good and useful in some capacity. And I'm probably able to learn Spanish a lot more quickly than I would have otherwise without all that previous background in it. But some other useless things that are useless and a waste of time. Well, for example, I've been reading a lot about minimalism and how I can adopt some of those principles into my life. The more I think about minimalism and the principles I've identified with, the more useful I find them in all areas. So, for example, I've walked around all of my apartment and I've gone through all of my drawers to the best that I can, and I've pulled out all these items that I have, and I've gotten rid of a ton of stuff. I mean, you can still see my bookshelf. I'm not a diehard minimalist. I'm not going to have just one fork and one spoon and one chair and two shirts, or something extreme like that. But I think it is useful to consider these questions when evaluating the items and things in your life. Number one, does this serve a purpose? Or is it just useless, Or number two, does this bring me joy? And I think that those are really good ideas on keeping things around. And so the other ways that I have been applying this to my life is with food. As you mentioned in your video, you talked about food and your ideas on vegetarianism and veganism. Number one, I've been focusing a lot on fitness and healthy eating and clean eating, and I feel like it is really hard for me personally to get enough protein on a vegetarian diet, and especially on a vegan diet. I'm not eating dairy, or at least not as much as I was before. I've cut out a lot of the milks, cheeses, things like that. You're limiting yourself, and you might opt for unhealthy options just because they're vegetarian, or just because they're not meat, or just because it's an Oreo and it's technically vegan, I guess, or something. I know I would have that mentality, so it doesn't work for me to become healthier. I'm just not that disciplined or creative with my foods. Other people are much healthier on it and it works for them, but for me, I wasn't able to achieve that. So I'm trying to only eat clean meats that were happier, or at least less filled with antibiotics and all the unnecessary stuff that I don't need. And I try to stay away from red meat, so I don't eat cows really, but I don't agree with the idea that we should just go ahead and kill the cow because they're suffering anyways, because the way that they kill the animals, from what I've seen, isn't pleasant. It's not like they get to just go lie down in a field and go to sleep and just not wake up. I mean, it's graphic, but I could kind of see where people are coming from, and that doesn't make for a good quality meat. Someone said that if the meat was just shot rather than strangled, so they pull up the fish and they shoot it immediately, so that way it's not like flopping all over the place and freaking out. It's just over. And then I made the joke that that's how I'd like to go, and it was not very funny. But anyways, I see where they're coming from, and I don't know, I haven't had a taste test comparison, so who knows. Anyways, useless things in food. So in my diet, I'm trying to get rid of all the useless foods, the things that don't either bring me joy or serve a purpose. So trying to only eat things that actually help my body. So a lot more vegetables, cleaner meats, not unhealthy things like alcohol or sugar, unnecessary sugar, or processed refined sugars, you know what I mean? Unless, and I'm not super strict on myself, and I'm not the best, like, clean eating example, but if it brings me joy and I need some joy, I will cheat. I have a cheat meal and a cheat dessert every once in a while. Sometimes it's a whole weekend, which probably isn't very good, but I think that it's important to recognize that some things just make you happy, and that's okay. And it's hard to do everything all at once. It's hard to, especially in our culture when we're addicted to so many foods and we lean on them without even realizing it. It's hard to maintain healthiness, happiness, environment. You're vegan, vegetarian, or, paleo, whatever. I just think if you're trying to do the best you can with the money you have and the information you have, you're way ahead of the game, because at least you're trying. I started thinking about how much TV I watched. I was just horrified. I couldn't believe how much TV I've started watching over the years. I'm just realizing if I keep watching TV after I get off of work from a regular 8 to 5 job, I'm wasting my time. I was wasting my time before, but I had more free time, and a more flexible schedule, so it didn't seem so bad. But now I can see how those hours add up, and that's not really how I want to spend my time. Not all the time. TV brings me joy sometimes, but it's not really useful. It doesn't make you think or really help you grow. It's just, you're just sitting there not doing anything, just being completely passive, just being a blob in front of a screen. And so I'd like to find other outlets to replace that time. Last thing I have about useless things is my finances, which you know well. You've encouraged me to start my own budget and really pay attention to the things I'm spending my money on just by watching you do yours, and I really appreciate that, because now, along with a lot of the minimalist things I've been reading, many of those, like Thrifty Gal, the blog, she's great, and she has several blogs where she talks about useless things that people spend their money on or waste their money on that she doesn't. And amongst those things, I thought one of the funniest things to me, or the most relatable, was nail salons, getting their nails done. And sorry to all the people who love that. I have my vices. This is just one that she mentioned that I really agree with is a waste of money for me. And getting your nails done. God, I mean, you're painting on like $15. It's liquid money on your fingertips that just flakes away and is gone. Well, I think I've pretty much covered most of it. So, useless things in TV. How much TV do you watch, Haley? And any tips on weaning yourself away from addictive things like TV and meats and sugars? Any ideas? So tell me about some of your useless things and let me know what you think. It was nice seeing you. Bye!